In the next 30 minutes on Business Live, gas production increases significantly by 65%, the highest recorded half-year volume since production commenced in 2010. We have the details. Also, Chamber of Petroleum Consumers Ghana predicts an increase in fuel prices next year following recent US elections. Plus, tourist sites in the country receive major boost under the sector ministry's initiative dubbed Site Upgrade Grant Scheme. We'll hear from the minister. I'm Israelai, and the details follow shortly. Cumulative raw gas produced from the country's oil field has increased significantly by 65%, the highest recorded half-year volume of gas produced since 2010. This is according to the Public Interest and Accountability Committee semi-annual report for the first half of the year 2020. There is more in the following Business Desk report.
Ghana recorded the highest raw gas production for the first half of the year 2020, despite disruptions caused by the global pandemic of the coronavirus. The cumulative raw gas production for the first half of this year was more than 116 million standard cubic feet. This represents a 65% increase over the last year's production and the highest recorded since 2010. Gas production from the Jubilee and 10 fields increased by 30% each, while the SGN field recorded a significant increase of about 130%. Meanwhile, crude oil production in the first half of 2020 reduced marginally relative to that of 2019.
The Chamber of Petroleum Consumers Ghana is predicting there will be an increase in fuel prices next year. According to the Chamber, the change in government in the United States is likely to affect the supply of crude oil, as Joe Biden is more inclined to environmental protection and may put a cap on shale technology. The Executive Director, Dan Kanamwa, made this projection as he spoke on some issues concerning petroleum and energy on the sidelines of a workshop organized to create media awareness on petroleum and energy issues.
If you look at the just ended US elections, these are people who probably are more concerned about environmental issues and as such are more likely to move away from shale technology, which Trump has used over the past 4 years to flood the oil market. Once the Democrats decide to put a capping on shale because it destroys the environment, what it means is that supply side is going to take a hit. The Americans may not be pumping in as much as they pump in this year. And so these indicators will tell you that 2021 is likely to see oil prices go above the $50 mark. We fear for Ghanaians the period after elections 2020. Whoever emerges is likely to want to overburden Ghanaians further with more taxes, especially on petroleum products.
Should that happen, what does Fintech are doing?
We do think that we can only preempt the situation, advise that authorities should take steps to prevent it. If we get to that bridge, however, where we are being told that the neck-breaking taxes is not enough, we should pay more, I'm sure together with Ghanaians would advise ourselves accordingly.
His advice, what advice?
It could mean anything. It could be civil protests, it could be suits, it could be unrest, it could be anything, class actions. Fuel smuggling is still an issue. People are, getting rich by the minute. Monies that would have accrued to the state, it enters private pockets. If you allow these millions and billions into private pockets and you come back to tax the trotro driver further, that cannot be fairness.
The Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Creative Arts says it has begun upgrading major tourist sites in the country. The initiative dubbed Site Upgrade Grant Scheme will ensure the development of selected tourist sites. Speaking at the Meet the Press series in Accra, the Minister, Barbara Oting-Jesse, said the move forms part of measures adopted to grow the tourism industry and revive the sector, which has been badly impacted by COVID-19.
The Sites Upgrade Grant Scheme is to improve the image of selected tourist sites across the country to ensure better tourist experience that will yield repeat visits and recommendations from our visiting tourists. To this end, preparatory works are being finalized on the following sites. The Slave Routes Project, which will ensure that our visitors who are interested in the slave trade can experience the routes that the slaves traveled from all the way from the north to the south and then ended up in the various dungeons in the central region. The Crafts Village Project in the northern region, which will showcase our various crafts as well as our smoke of the northern region. The Kintampo Waterfalls Iconic Site Phase 1 project, the improvements to the Kwame Nkrumah Mausoleum, the improvements to the Mole National Park, improvements to the Shai Resorts, introduction of a slave heritage museum, works which are ongoing at the Bonre Kente Museum, which we recently cut the sword for, the Kwewu Ojuanhoma paragliding site, which we recently commissioned, the Tafi Atome Monkey Sanctuary Phase 1 project, which we also recently commissioned, the Tete Kwashi Cocoa Museum, which we are going to commission this afternoon, as well as a gold museum, which we have started engagements on, and we are hopeful that next year work can begin.
The Minister meanwhile noted a draft bill for a heritage and culture fund has been presented to Cabinet for approval. This will ensure the preservation of various UNESCO tourist sites within the country.
The Tourism Tourist Sites Regulations 2019 LI 2383, the Tourism and Travel Trade Regulations 2019 LI 2383, and these LIs will support the work of the Ghana Tourism Authority in performing its regulatory functions of the tourism industry. With regards to the provision of adequate funding for the conservation and preservation of heritage assets, such as our forts and castles, the Heritage and Culture Fund Bill has been drafted for Cabinet consideration and approval. This will ensure that these heritage sites retain their status as UNESCO World Heritage Sites.
The World Bank predicted a massive reduction of 20% in remittance flows by 2021 at the start of the pandemic. But 6 months on, the projected decline has now been revised, defying expectations. The financial institution now estimates that the amount of money migrant workers will send home will shrink by 14%. We're joined via Zoom by the co-founder and chairman of global digital money transfer firm Azimo, Michael Kent, to discuss this. Now, thank you very much, Mr. Kent. Now, how has COVID-19 been for fintech firms across Africa?
So I think it's really been a story of two halves. I think, like all businesses, fintech firms have had to find new ways of doing things in a very difficult situation. We've been locked down here in London, just as we've been locked down all over the world. So, we have team members and staff working from home. We've had to find new ways of working on Zoom, and we've been struggling to manage under difficult circumstances. I think on the upside, it's for us as a business, it's been very good. And I would swap it in a heartbeat for no pandemic. I don't like the situation that we've been in. But if you think of our business, we're really providing a much faster and cheaper alternative to the high street brands, people like Western Union and MoneyGram. And actually, that what's happened in the pandemic has really accelerated people coming onto our platform and starting to use it. So yeah, it's definitely been tough times, but certainly for fintech firms, I think you've seen an acceleration of the move towards digital. And we're not alone. The Amazons of this world who are doing a similar thing for retail have also done very well. So yeah, it's tough times, but it also has maybe a positive impact on fintech.
Now, what do you make of the World Bank report on the impact of COVID-19 as far as your fintech is concerned?
Well, I think it's really interesting. So the World Bank have said originally, as you pointed out when you introduced the segment, originally the World Bank thought things were going to be a lot worse. So they were saying there was going to be a 20% decline in remittances this year. They've revised that to say it's going to be a 7% decline this year and then a 7% decline next year. So it's obviously the impact is a lot smaller. I think it's worrying. It's a big impact or a slightly less big impact. It's always a worrying trend. I think the interesting thing that I see, and when I talk to our customers, and we have millions of customers who are sending billions of dollars back home, when I talk to them, they're very adamant that the money that they're sending is essential, and they will do whatever they can to make sure that they can continue to save money and send it back home. So I think often when the World Bank or economists look at this sector, they sort of take GDP and the other measures of an economy and they sort of feed those into their model, and they get a different result to if you actually talk to the people who are sending the money and you realize just how important this money is, just what a huge impact it makes in the places that receive those money to the people who receive those monies. And I think that sometimes doesn't get factored into the model. So I'm actually pretty optimistic, and I think actually probably you will see the World Bank revise this model again, and the impact won't be quite as bad as they say. But yeah, it's definitely worrying times. It's hard times for everyone. And I think probably like most places in the world, in Europe, which is where we operate, we haven't seen the full impact on the economic side of the pandemic yet. We expect this to play out for at least another 18 months, maybe even 2 years.
But I'm sure you'd appreciate that the World Bank's projection really was based on some science, because you'd expect that if people are locked down and they are not earning as much, they can't send as much. But of course, like you pointed out, there's a segment of the population that, yes, they may not be earning much, but they'll still want to try and send money down because they believe it's important.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, it's a scientific model, and I think the one thing is that most models are ultimately are not a true reflection of reality. I think it's absolutely, and I'm not arguing with the fact that things are going to get worse. I think they're pretty bad at the moment, and they're certainly going to get worse. What I do think isn't always factored into these economic models is just how important remittances are, and the other thing I guess you've seen, and certainly in Europe you see this. Not that many people have lost their jobs. Not that many people have actually have been impacted economically yet. It's coming for sure, and people are feeling it. But at the moment, we're in a quite lucky situation, certainly in the big economies in the UK or Germany, France, Spain, Italy, where, yes, some people have been impacted in terms of the employment, but the government have really stepped in with huge amounts of fiscal stimulus. There are big schemes being run by governments to try and keep people in jobs, to try and keep people earning, and that's very different to previous crises where government haven't really taken an active role. In Europe, at least, I think there's been a lot of stuff that's been done to try and support people's incomes. But yeah, no, you're right. The model is based on science. I think probably the science doesn't take into account the fact that remittances are much more important than other flows of money. But yeah, there's no arguing with the fact that things are going to be bad, and we're always focused on how can we get the cost down for our customers so more of the money goes where it's needed the most.
Essentially, science doesn't have emotions. But what are your predictions as far as the African fintech ecosystem post-COVID is concerned? Do you think we're going to ride this wave, or it's going to come crashing anytime soon?
So in my book, I think what the pandemic has really done is just accelerate a trend that everyone saw was coming, but was maybe questioning the speed of arrival. So I think you're seeing people use digital ways of buying things, digital ways of managing their money. You're seeing people receive money on mobile phones. You're seeing digital has become a bigger and bigger part of our lives. we wouldn't be having this conversation in the way that we're having it now a few years ago. And if you look at, the adoption of Zoom, the adoption of WhatsApp, the adoption of some of the online retailers, the adoption of neobanks and fintech, the adoption of people like, Asimo to send money overseas, that is, and the fact that everyone's been locked down and not been able to get out has just accelerated that trend. And it's a one-way street. Once you start using these services and you find out it's much cheaper and it's much faster and it's much easier, then you don't go back. So I think we will look back, and when we have our grandchildren on our knee and talk about the crazy year that 2020 was, I think one of the positive things, and there won't be many, but one of the positive things that we'll be able to say is the acceleration of technology really happened. And that will have transformed a lot of people's lives for years to come. And I think it will have transformed it for the better.
All right, thank you very much, techpreneur Michael Kent. Italian businesses in Ghana are seeking partnerships with member countries of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Agreement to grow their presence on the African continent. According to the Trade Commissioner of the Italian Trade Agency, Alessandro Cherubino, Italy has advanced technology to support businesses on the African continent. He was speaking at a wine tasting event for the finest wines from Italy organized in Accra.
I think that it's very important that in Ghana we help develop the curiosity and the passion for wine. When you know about wine, whatever wine, when you know about wine, you will naturally come to Italian wines because of this diversity that I was telling you about, because production.
As an agency, how do you plan on taking advantage of the continental free trade?
It's a very big opportunity. First of all, it's for foreign companies, it's a very big opportunity for local companies, because the reach that each company will be able to get is going to be much bigger. And what our proposal to this scenario is that to partner, because we are a very big manufacturer. Italy isn't a country particularly rich in natural resources. Ghana is. What we are good at is transforming things, manufacturing. So we have resources, but we also import resources, and through our technology, our machinery, we add value to those, and we are very good at that. And we are very good also in the production of the machinery to do that. So our machinery, our technology is the technology that puts on the market the consumer goods that are most wanted in the world. We have good technology and we can use it also outside Italy. And this is, if you want to get, to that level, we have the technology to do that.
Meanwhile, Italy's ambassador to Ghana, Daniela Dorlandi, says trade relations between Italy and Ghana is expected to grow in the coming years as the coronavirus pandemic is brought under control.
Within the premises of the embassy, we have an Italian trade agency, which is aimed at promoting relations between Italian and Ghanaian businesses, access to training, marketing skills, finance, and to develop joint projects also with local entities such as the Ghana Investment Promotion Center and others.
You mentioned about technology. How is that making a play?
It's making a play because Italy, in fact, is the second manufacturing country of the EU, and a large part of its exports towards Ghana are made up of technology and machinery, industrial equipment. And we are really willing to help Ghana boost its potential, because Ghana has very rich natural resources and raw materials that could be developed thanks to the appropriate technology. So that the Gavi, the Global Alliance on Vaccine and Immunization, has made a list of 92 countries, among which Ghana, for the access to the vaccine. And Italy is very supportive of this. So we hope that next year the situation worldwide will get better and our mutual trade relations will get better.
Head of the Local Government Service, Engineer Dr. Nana Atuatha, is calling on the Ghana Institute of Procurement and Supply Chain to incorporate its charter provisions in its training programs. He was speaking at the induction ceremony of members of the Institute of Local Government. There's more in this report.
The head of the Local Government Service called on the Ghana Institute of Procurement and Supply Chain to incorporate its charter provisions in its training programs. Dr. Nana Atuatha believes that is the only way professional standards and ethics will be exhibited.
I want to seize this opportunity to call on GIPS to, as far as practicable, integrate our charter provision in your training programs. Obviously, because of the global nature of this provision in our strategic direction, it will impact positively on the performance of your members. Chairman, I must congratulate the leadership of GIPS for coming this far since its inception to create this opportunity for a home-based professional institute to ensure that the peculiar needs of our country and the African continent achieved within a global perspective. GIPS has also become a Ghanaian-based institute that's created opportunity for procurement practitioners to acquire professional status and ensuring adherence to professional standards and ethics in Ghana.
Chairman of GIPS Council believes that the licensing and practicing bill, which have been drafted for Parliament's consideration, will not only bring sanity to the procurement space, but will also ensure procurement professionals are engaged and properly placed to manage procurement systems in the organization.
Thanks to the commitment of successive council and executive members, the Institute has now become the mouthpiece of procurement and supply management in Ghana. To consolidate this feat, the Council, executives, and the Legal Committee have drafted the Licensing and Practicing Bill for consideration by Parliament. This indeed is one of the fundamental milestones that will engender total transformation of the procurement landscape in Ghana. Well-meaning Ghanaians and stakeholders have pledged their support to see the bill through Parliament to become law.
The Civil and Local Government Staff Association of Ghana has expressed worry about its inability to access filed tax returns. A quick take for today is with Executive Secretary of CLOGSAC, Isaac Bamfuado.
These tax reliefs are going to enhance our income. It's not only salary increases that enhance our income. Government has put in these tax reliefs to also enhance our income. And it's like, because of the processes that are not well known, our members are not enjoying it. So we call for this workshop for GI to come and tell us what are the processes to enable our members to enjoy these tax reliefs.
And that's how we end Business Live for this evening. I'm Israel. Thank you very much for watching.